The Phoenix Suns heading to Dallas to close out the week in a nationally televised game. What can we expect? Is Rudy Gobert quietly the Suns' biggest cheerleader? And more coming up right away on Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, covering the Suns the past 5 seasons as a credentialed media member. I'm also a contributor at Suns.com as well as Dime Magazine. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen each and every day. Thank you for finding us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. I want to reiterate, I did not hear from you today. The YouTube user, You Mad Bro. Very unfortunate that I landed on that gentleman as the winner of the towel, but fair is fair, and you are the winner. So please DM me, comment below, whatever you have to do. I want to send that to you ASAP, and otherwise I might have to move on to somebody else. We'll see how long I wait. I don't know. I'll give you till Monday's show. So you have for the rest of the week to let me know who you are, because you did not use your real name, and I can send that to you pronto. But thank you again, everybody, for listening and watching. You can also follow along at Locked On PHX Suns or my personal account at Brendon Kleen 14. Aaron Edwards is here. He is a writer at All Caps NBA over on the Take Line YouTube channel with Crooked Media for his weekly stop in. Aaron, we have to start here. We've been talking about the Grizzlies. We've been talking about the Jazz. I've been trying to convince you that the Jazz are nothing to be feared and that this Grizzlies team is far more real than you were giving them credit for. I think that Rudy Gobert agrees with me. I think that's the latest development here, is that Rudy Gobert agrees. He took the time during the Jazz season right now to call out the Suns specifically for having winning habits, Devin Booker for, quote, playing his ass off defensively and buying in as a team. So I think Rudy Gobert is probably the biggest guy to sponsor my take that the Jazz are nothing to be scared of. He's basically telling you the Suns can beat them.
Yeah, and it was like the only thing he didn't add was, unlike some people, and look Donovan Mitchell like directly in the eye. I feel like he was mostly just trying to send shots at his team. But I guess he's like part of the fellas now. It seems he is one of the biggest Suns fans out there. And it was wild to
T-shirt somewhere. Yeah.
Like I'm sure he sees all the Donovan Mitchell versus Booker stuff. Like we've been talking about it for years now, and he just decided a winner with just one quote, and he still has to look that dude in the eye at practice every day. So that was really funny.
Did you see what Mitchell said back? He basically just like wouldn't even take the bait.
Yeah, and
those
he
guys
liked
just hate each other.
He liked the tweet too.
He liked the tweet.
Yeah,
so
and then
he was asked about liking the tweet. And he's like, "Oh, that's his way of being a leader on this team or whatever." Like they hate each other.
Yeah, they're not going to be around each other much longer. But I don't know who you choose. Like I know Rudy Gobert wants to be there, but do you want to build your team around him, or do you want the better player? And that doesn't want to be there that much. So yeah, they got a choice to make, but they can't be together anymore.
No, I don't think they can. And I think, they're not, one of them's not going at the deadline, but long term, I do think this is the year for them. This is the make or break season. And what surprised me all along with that is everybody's kind of talking about this year that way for them, and yet they didn't act accordingly. Like maybe they do something at the deadline to kind of surprise all of us. Like maybe there's a move. I'm not saying they're going to make, the Ben Simmons splash or anything like that, but maybe it's Jeremy Grant has been a guy that everybody's talking about lately. There's role players to be had. Maybe that makes a difference and kicks things into gear. But their big addition was Rudy Gay. Their big addition was Eric Paschall, whose biggest claim to fame was that he's like Donovan Mitchell's friend. This is not the roster you put together when you're buckling down to try to, do something big in your potentially kind of, do or die season. So that's why all along I just had a hard time buying into them, is what's going to be different? It didn't seem like anything was going to be different unless Mitchell took a big leap defensively, or, Conley was able to really stay healthy and look like the all-star version of himself from the first half of last season. None of those things have really happened, even though Mitchell's an incredible offensive player. So
yeah.
Well, I kind of moonlight as the host of Locked On Grizzlies. I just put it in this sometimes because I love watching that team, and they're fun. And I've been trying to convince you of them, and they are now the 3 seed. So what do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, they are fun to watch, but like they beat the Warriors, but the Warriors are playing pretty bad right now. I think we kind of started off the streak, I think, when they beat us, and I think like that's when they went on the roll. But like, I just still don't see it. I love John. Like, they're exciting, but I just don't see beating. You have to play 7 games, and I just think playoff time, 7 games is a lot, and figuring somebody out is what the playoffs are. And they're fun right now, and they're like I said last time, they're us last year. People are excited about them, and it's fun to watch and like all that. And we're the boring team because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But I just don't see it still. It has been fun to watch, though.
So I'm fully to the point. These teams don't play again, the Suns and the Grizzlies, until April 1st, which is kind of crazy. They played like really early in the season, and the Suns smacked them, and then obviously they won by 1 point a couple days after Christmas. They don't play again until April 1st, but I'm fully to the point where I'm going to be rooting for the Grizzlies to beat the Suns in that game just to prove you wrong. I'm completely at that point already. And what I feel like is maybe the most important part of all of this, like setting aside the Jazz, who I still don't believe in, the Grizzlies, we'll see, they do have a huge element of they need to prove it. But I talked about this on yesterday's show. The 1 seed is right there. And the Suns already have a lead. That's not necessarily breaking news to say the 1 seed is within reach for them. They're literally sitting in it right now. But you have Draymond Green out right now. You have that lull that we talked about, that we agreed would come with Klay Thompson being reintegrated. He's still on a minutes limit. The Jazz are, not making up any ground. And now this Grizzlies team is missing Desmond Bane, who just went into the health and safety protocol. They already were missing Dillon Brooks. So they don't have a lot on the wing right now either. The Suns seem like, this is a point in the season where if they just keep the pedal down, like they really could have a big lead for that 1 seed before the trade deadline even gets here.
Yeah, and I didn't think they would go for it if it was like a fight for it. I think like with the grind of the playoffs last year, because the other teams weren't in the playoffs. The other teams that are in the top 4 weren't in the playoffs last year. And I just think like the grind of it all, it was a quick turnaround. So I didn't think that they'd try for the 1 seed necessarily. But now that it's right there for the taking and they can kind of maybe even coast to it, I think if they have a 5-game lead on it by the time like All-Star break hits, like they're going to be like, let's just have home court advantage through the playoffs then. But at first, I just think with the grind and like the older players like Chris Paul, I just didn't think that they were going to necessarily just go for it if they didn't have to, because I think they really do think they can beat anybody on any floor, because we had one of the best away teams in the league last year too, or the best one. So I just don't think they really care necessarily about home court. But if it's going to be this easy to get this time, I think they're going to go for it.
Yeah, they clinched all 3 playoff series on the road last season before the finals. They're 17-4 on the road this season. So yeah, I agree. Like, and in basketball, I don't think it's quite as big of a deal as like, some sports are, where the NFL, it's 1 game where it's played makes a huge difference. But for the Suns, I think that 1 seed's probably to me more important in terms of opponent. You're setting yourself up to play whoever wins or whoever actually gets in second place in the play-in tournament. And that second round matchup, maybe it's Utah, maybe it's Dallas, maybe it's Memphis, rather than having to risk playing Golden State or, whatever it ends up being. You want to distance yourself from those difficult matchups. So that's really important. You don't want to get in a situation where you're playing, a hot team like the Lakers, or maybe, Kawhi and Paul George come back and all of a sudden that's the, 7 seed and you're dealing with that. Like, you can't count on all that stuff. And we saw last year there was some funny business with the seeding and teams trying to kind of intentionally get to where they wanted to be. But you want to, take care of business like you can. So I think that's where it really comes in. And whether it's the Grizzlies, who who are scarier, or the Jazz, or whether Rudy Gobert is right to doubt his entire team. The Suns team they're soaring right now. So let's get into their next matchup. That is the Dallas Mavericks. They face off on national TV, kind of a weird one of the games that I believe got flexed into national TV out of another slot got sketched out of it. So now we have this 5:30 local time tip, but it should be an awesome game. These teams bring the best out of each other and they're completely healthy. So let's get into it. First though, BetOnline wishing you a happy new betting year as we continue our march through the football playoffs and not too long after that, into the NBA playoffs. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all of your sports wagering action in the new year. They also have a new updated desktop website and mobile app to make the process smooth, easy, and fun for you. So head over to betonline.ag on the web or don't download that mobile app. Make an account, and when you do, use the promo code LOCKEDON when you make your first deposit to get a 50% welcome bonus. That's promo code Locked On when you make your first deposit to get a 50% welcome bonus straight to your account. From football and basketball to boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers throughout 2022. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, so we have this battle between Phoenix and Dallas. It's hard to necessarily buy into the idea that the Mavs are going to win this game too much. Not to ruin the prediction here right away, Aaron, but the Suns have owned this team. So really what this game is to me is like, can Dallas turn the tide of that? Because the last two games Luka didn't play in earlier this season, but even when Luka's been healthy, whether it was the bubble, whether it was the first games of Ayton and Luka's careers, they've always tended to own the Mavs, and I think it begins and ends with Devin Booker. They just don't have an answer for him. So where do you see this game going? How confident are you heading into it?
Yeah, when you said that we were talking about the Mavs, I would my first thought was like, we kind of just don't have a problem with them at all. We kind of just whoop them up every single time, and I just don't really see any issue with them. And just one player for the Suns, we're a top defense, and I just don't see one player really being able to take over and just if anything, they'll let Luka get his, but that team is bad. They don't have the bodies, honestly, and I just don't see that being an issue. I think our bench is better. Our top heavy team, our stars are better. If Cam Johnson came back playing like Cam Johnson immediately after his injury, I just don't think they have anything. And I want to see Bridges against Luka and how he handles, just how much stronger he is. I just want him to, just playoff wise, I want to see how he handles certain body types. And I just don't think that they're much of an issue.
Yeah, I tend to agree. One thing, so they are 9-1 in their past 10 games. They've won 3 straight. So we have to give them a little bit of respect in general, but I think the matchup has always just been bad for them. Porzingis, I don't really know if there is a type of team that he can necessarily make pay, but the Suns are not it. I think that the strength and size that they have at every spot, you're not really worried if Bridges, Crowder get switched onto Porzingis. And we know that's what the Clippers have basically done to the Mavs in the playoffs the past 2 years is hey, we're going to switch everything. And if Porzingis isn't going to do anything about that, then you guys just aren't going to be able to score enough. All that said, though, part of me does wonder, Jalen Brunson has been a huge part of their success this season. And I know he's not a huge name for people, but, Mikal Bridges' former tearmate, Villanova guy, he's developed himself into a pretty nice second playmaker for them, even though their offense isn't, nearly what it had been in the past. They've kind of spread the wealth a little bit, and it's helping them. At least, without Luka playing at his best, they've still been able to stay afloat. So if Bridges is on Luka most of the game, which history says he will be for sure, then, could Brunson punish them a little bit? Because the types of teams that have multiple scorers, that's a tough battle for any team to defend, but especially for the Suns, because you're starting to ask, can Devin Booker be a difference maker on defense? Can, Chris Paul, I don't know, what does it look like then if Brunson starts to get going? That would probably be the number one thing that I'd be worried about if the Mavericks were going to win.
Yeah, I think scoring won't be an issue for us. So I think these are the type of games where Booker like, because he kind of picks and chooses, because now he's shown that he knows how to play defense when he really needs to, instead of being
Like
the
Rudy
scorer.
Gobert
And
said.
yeah, and I think like now that like he's in such like a hot scoring stretch, I think this is going to be one of those games where Chris Paul might need to score a little bit more, just so it's like the load isn't just on Devin Booker. Because sometimes like it is just going to be a defensive game for him, and like the Olympics, like when we had the scoring, we just needed him to D up and just like kind of just grind down there for a little bit. I think this is one of those games where he's just gonna have to grind on defense for most of the game, and the points will just come. Like, I just think our offense flows so smoothly, and Dallas just isn't that great. I just think the points will come easy, and we won't need him to play like hero ball. He can just play D.
Yeah, like you said, if Cam Johnson can come back and look like himself, that'll help too. Just giving that extra offensive spark. If Landry Shamet could arrive again, I don't know where he's been, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
To be fair, dude had COVID. I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't want to push too hard if that is what it is, but he's been just silent, and so that him coming alive would be a nice night to see. Just the shooting kind of carry the Suns, and that way it can be a little bit more of a balanced type of attack. On the other hand, even with all that said, Booker's been on such an insane hot streak that this Mavericks team, like, yes, their defense is back into like the top 10 with under Jason Kidd, but Tim Hardaway, Dorian Finney-Smith, these guys cannot guard Devin Booker. We know that.
Yeah.
We don't really need any more evidence of that. So, we also could just see a game where even if he kind of theoretically does need to do a little bit more defensively, you could also just see another first quarter where he scores 15, 20 points and it's never close. Like, that's also in play. That happens, right? Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I think just like, and we're low a big. I think that's going to be
Yes.
probably the big trouble is JaVale is kind of a no man's land on the pick and roll a lot. So I think that if he gets in foul trouble, which he's prone to do, and Luka is a foul merchant. So if he gets in foul trouble, then we might end up having just to play small. And that might just be an issue with Porzingis down there. But I just don't like really see that much of an issue unless JaVale ends up being kind of a problem.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that's exactly where I was going to go is Ayton is out. And so what does that look like? He has that doesn't look good for him right now. And so that could be a problem. Like, if they go small with Porzingis at the 5 and JaVale's trying to guard in space and things are getting wonky, like, you could see there be issues, right? So that all those things are considerations, but I think we're on the same page here that this should not be too much of an issue for the Suns.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know what the line is, but even on the road, like, there's just so few teams that on a regular season game, I'm walking into it feeling like, yeah, the Suns should be scared, right? And so
yeah,
Dallas has been a better story lately, but I don't feel that way about them. So all things considered.
And this is like the end of a road trip too, right? So I think they just want to close out a road trip with a win because they finally get to come home and relax. So I just think just closing out a road trip on a high note is just something that they want to do. So I really think they're going to come out fast and try to end it pretty quick.
For sure. Let's close out the show with a fun idea that I had that I did not prep you for, and that was intentional.
Oh no!
So we'll do this in one quick second. I'm pulling up your Twitter is all that I'll say, and let's get into it right after a quick break.
There you go. Can't hear you. There we go. I think I can hear you.
All right.
You say something? Oh, there we go.
Okay, we will cut that out. Headphones started beeping at me, and I think I just need to stop recording with those. So, okay. As I was saying, coming into that break, I feel like we have to start a new segment here called Explain Your Tweets. I know this is not new. I know this has been done before, but I get to talk with you every week, and your Twitter is just too much of a content mine not to dive. So we have to go into it. So there's honestly too many to choose from, frankly. But let me start with this one. Okay.
I probably already forgot it after tweeting it, so I'm about to learn about it right now too.
Okay. First of all, I want you to explain if there's a PG-13, if there's a YouTube where we don't have like an explicit sign version of the frequent discussion of one Liz Cambage. Can you give me this explanation? Because she fired her agent. She's a free agent right now. She's going to be in the news. So I feel like we just need to set the record straight on where we are with this.
My girlfriend's going to be so mad. She's so sick of hearing about Liz Cambage. What's the, like, just where I stand with Liz, or where she's
explain
going?
To me the fascination. I mean, I think I can have some guesses, but
I mean,
just let us into your world here. I
mean, she's a amazing Australian hooper, and she's very comfortable with herself. Like, that's just yeah, that's all it is. She's just pretty great.
You're just a feminist. You just like the empowerment that she gives off.
Yes, she's queen feminist.
Gotcha. Okay. You're a big Opals fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Australia.
Have you ever been to Australia?
I have not.
Okay. Just the culture, it's always stood out to you. It's something.
Yes, and the Liz Cambage of it all.
Yes. Okay. All right. We'll check back in on that. I also feel like we have to have a TV check-in. How much TV would you say you watch in a given week? Because I feel like the Twitter ratio would make it seem like it's like 20 to 30% of a day.
Usually after I work out, I'm usually watching something that I'm catching up on while I'm making breakfast. So it's like usually in when I'm writing. So it's just something's always on in the background, and I'm trying to catch up on just all the stuff that everybody's telling me to watch.
See, that's podcasts with me. I have an unhealthy podcast addiction. So I just I'll literally be like, oh, I'm like putting my shoes on, and I'll literally take my phone out and just like hit play for 2 minutes while I'm doing that for unhealthy. I don't think there is a reason. Okay. But it seems like we have a lot of overlap. So Righteous Gemstones, how are you feeling? This new season has been, I'm not actually caught up. I've only watched 2.
It started out fast. Like, I mean, the first season started out fast too, though. So but this one is way more wild so far. Yeah. So yeah, I just love Danny McBride and everything he does. So yeah, this season's been really good.
Okay, favorite Danny McBride thing?
Pineapple Express.
Really?
Yeah. He's everything. Every single thing he says in that movie is funny. Everything.
Okay, for me, it's Eastbound and Down, which.
Yeah,
that's the. I guess that's kind of like the generic answer. Maybe that's not the hip take, but he literally, like, you ever have those people where you laugh so hard at them that it's embarrassing, where you're like, this wasn't funny, like straight up, there wasn't a joke here, but he like appeared and I'm giggling like straight, like immediately. That's how it is. And then the same thing with This Is the End. The montage when he wakes up the next morning and does not realize
makes the breakfast.
Makes the breakfast. So he pees and then he's like wipes it with his foot, and he's just walking out there, and then everybody gets pissed off at him. Very good stuff. Okay, I'm trying to think. Oh, Euphoria. How are you feeling?
Those kids just bummed me out. My girlfriend just started season 1 yesterday, and she was just like, I'm so sad I have girls. And I was just like, the boys are struggling on there too, but it's just a tough watch. I told her to limit herself to 2. She was like, I'm just going to watch 2 first. And I was like, just always limit yourself to 2. 3 is your soul kind of hurt after.
I don't even remember. It was so long ago that we watched it not like weekly when the first season was on, but not too shortly thereafter. So I don't even remember, but it's definitely it's not a binge show. It's a depressing show. Like I was in a truly bad mood after the premiere.
Yeah.
The way that the premiere ended, I was like, nope, they need to have like, I know Zendaya, but like that wasn't enough. They needed her filmed talking to you like, hey, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
What you're about to see, like, it's not real. It was filmed. Nobody got hurt. Don't worry. Because I was upset after that premiere. Like I was telling I'm like, why do they put that stuff on TV? Like they should. It doesn't have to be so dramatic and like. I knew what I was getting into, and I let it rile me up.
After every episode, they should just have like a Muppet like sing a song to like relax you and like chill you out. Like it's just such a tough hang of a show that it's like I'm more mad on Sundays that I have to watch it. Like I'm just like, all right, let's just do this first, and then I just get it out of the way.
Yeah. It's replaced watching the Cardinals as my least favorite thing to do on Sundays. We got the Cliff Kingsbury experience out of the way, and now I get the Zendaya experience every week with her just complete nonsense. Okay, last one here. I'm not finding the tweet, but you quote tweeted Spencer Hall talking about refereeing youth sports. I want the story. I want the story of the time that you coached youth sports, how it happened, the worst memory you have of it, because that sounds like straight up miserable. The only time I would ever want to do it is like I remember when I was in school, the 16-year-olds who that was their first job because they were like super athletic dudes and they just had the in of I'm going to get hired at this thing to referee, and they made like $15 an hour. That was cool. But any other version of it, I can't imagine doing. So please tell us how it went.
I got an MIC for drinking at a church with my friends in a church parking lot. Sorry. Shout out to CJ and Matt. And the cops got us and we got our tickets and stuff. And we had a couple hours of community service and they all got to pretty much choose what they wanted. And I got given East Lake Park, 16th Street in Jefferson. And I got told that I could referee games there for my community service. And I honestly didn't think it was a big deal. I was like, all right, I get to be around basketball and that's fun. But then you don't realize the parents of it all and the grown-ups of it all. Like I was doing all the games and you're just like around grown men who are trying to like intimidate you for out of calls.
So this wasn't just youth, like you were doing like rec league stuff?
I was doing rec league stuff. And it was like kids that are just straight up disrespectful and their parents having to get teed up and just grown men trying to intimidate you. And it was like the worst 20 hours of my life.
It worked, in other words.
Yeah. And the thing is, I got to high school and I still kept treating refs like shit. So it's like
it didn't gain you any appreciation.
No, like I knew how hard the job was and it didn't change my 17-year-old brain one bit.
No. And you probably kept drinking at churches. Yeah. I mean, on the record, no, you never did it again, but
no, not once.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's hilarious. I don't remember anything about the people who referee games, and that's probably indicative of how people treat them. Like I never really thought about them, but maybe I should have. I just remember thinking sometimes the adults who would referee were taking their job like way too serious. Like that job, rec league refereeing should be for people under like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Because if you're like 35, I think that there's like a certain type of person that sticks with that career path for a little too long. And it's like, you're not on an NBA court.
Yeah.
Take it easy. It's going to be all right, but no, that's great. All right. So I don't have any doubt that you will keep replenishing the tweet barrel here. So we'll dig back into this segment every so often. Right. I just don't tweet enough to make it interesting. So maybe this isn't fair of me, but I feel like it's fair game since you continue to put it out there.
Yeah, it's definitely on me.
You played along. All right. Let's wrap up for the day then, folks. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen every single day. We'll be back tomorrow after the buzzer of Suns Mavs TNT. Don't forget early tip 5:30. national TV. We'll see what happens. Catch it right here, the recap show, directly after that game is over. I'll talk to you then, and enjoy your Thursday.